What's up, y'all? All right, we got a new build to do today, so we're about to get started. I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a nice, easy, all new build. We're gonna go with the RX 7800 XT today, so nice little beefy mid-range card. I'm looking forward to this cooler. It's got like a LCD screen. I haven't used this yet, but this one's actually pretty reasonably priced, so I'm looking to see how good that is. And we're gonna put it on a B650 board with a 7600X with a 1000 watt power supply and 32 gigs DDR5 on a 1 TB NVMe storage. So it'll be a good little simple build, and we'll be putting it in this Zalman case. I love Zalman cases. I think they're freaking awesome. If you haven't used a Zalman case, you should definitely check it out. I think these are really high quality, and I built in a black one. This is my first time seeing it in white, and I think it looks pretty good. I think it looks as good as the white ones, or the black ones, excuse me. So, all right, we'll get her done. We got I think it's the MSI, the bag? Yeah, so it's an MSI B650M mortar with Wi-Fi. I got it because of price. Basically, you know, every customer gives me their budget they're gonna work with or in, and so they're kind of ducked down. I'm not used to filming while I'm building it, but I guess I'm gonna try to get used to it. So, every customer's budget is different, so I have to get these parts to fit in that budget, and try to get as much performance as I can get out of it. So that's my challenge every single time. These parts got ordered like about a month and a half ago. It took a really long time for the graphics card to come in, mostly because the stock on the 7000 series is starting to kind of dwindle down and run out, because the 9000 series I think is right around the corner. So to get this particular graphics card, it took that long. Now you can get a 7800X, a different kind, probably a non-white version. You probably get that relatively quickly depending on where you look. But in this case, I had to wait a little bit on it, so not a big deal. So we'll go ahead and get the hardware out. All right, so here's the MSI board we went with, and man, is it freaking sweet. We got heat sinks on top, on the sides here. This is like good quality metal, not like that cheap filling stuff that you usually get. And I think it looks really good, actually. Like, it's hard to get over how good this looks right now. So I'm actually really excited. Guess I'm gonna go ahead and start slapping her together. First step to any good build for me is right here. That's how I get this thing going. All right, so we'll go ahead and get the CPU out wherever I hit it for myself at. Okay, here's the CPU. It's the Ryzen 5 7600X. And it's a really, really good CPU if you're on a budget of any kind. You can get this for $200, and this thing will go all the way up to, I believe, a 4070 before you start getting bottlenecked. So it's going to fit with this 7800 XT really, really good. Not going to have any problems, and it's going to be able to do everything that we're asking for from it in this build without causing an issue. So that's primarily why we went with it, that and cost. Okay, so once you get the CPU out, you're going to take this lever here and flick her up. And then you're not going to take this plastic piece off, but you're going to pick this up. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this, but not everybody has seen this. So if you look down at the board, on this particular board, I don't know if you can see it very well, but there's going to be a triangle. And it matches this triangle right here on the CPU. So all you do is you take this CPU and you just set it down here in the socket with those little triangles lining up. And you can, on these new style boards, you don't really have to push them down because the pins aren't on the CPU, so it's actually really easy. But then you just lower down this plate, and then you go ahead and click it back. And then this will pop out, and you're done. Next thing we're gonna do is the storage. Go ahead and get my iFixit kit out. This is just one that I got at Best Buy. I've been using it. I love it. Okay, the next thing we're going to be doing is putting in the NVMe storage drive. So to do this, it's actually pretty simple. So if you look at this board, there's a M.2 slot here, and then there's another one here. You always want to get the one closest to the CPU because it's better. It'll have a faster connection. And that's what we want. We want it to be really fast. So we're gonna go with that one. But it's pretty simple. You just come down here and unscrew these screws on this heat sink. It's actually a heat sink, this metal piece. And what it will do is it'll catch the air that's blowing all around the case, and it'll cool this metal piece off, and in return that will draw the heat that our drive is going to create as you use it. Once you get that in there, you just take it and make sure that it's all the way in on this side, and then you set it down on this top bracket, and it's got a little plastic clip that just slides over into it. You'll take your heat sink and you'll put it back where it goes. And just screw it down. Nice and snug. Nothing on here needs to be really tight. Like nothing. Just nice and snug. That's it. So next, we'll go ahead and put the RAM in. So on RAM, you always want to do it 9 times out, like let's say 99 out of 100 times, you're going to put it in the second and fourth slot if you've only got 2 sticks. All right, so here's the RAM kit. It's actually pretty clean. I'm looking forward to how it's going to look in here with everything white. I know we went with the black motherboard, but if you guys don't know, some of these white motherboards can actually be really expensive. So a lot of times, just get the black motherboard and get white and black cable extensions. You're good to go. So as soon as you get your RAM out, you're going to want to look at it. You're going to have one side or one section here that's bigger than the other. On DDR5, it's actually really hard to tell. DDR4 was a lot easier, but you just take it and put it down in here and just make sure that you're lining it up with the notch and it's not upside down. And once you got it lined up and you double check to make sure, just give it a nice firm press. And you'll hear a good click. And that'll let you know that she's in there. And then this will latch itself back. Line it up and... Alright, so here's the cooler I'm going to go with. It's a Phrozen warp frame. It looks pretty cool because it's got this like LCD screen in it, or LED screen. So I'm kind of excited about it. We'll see how it looks. So the first thing you do is you go over here, get your screwdriver, and these brackets that are already on the board for the stock cooler, you just take them off. Next thing you do is, this is an AMD socket, so you'll take these little plastic pieces and you'll stick them down in there over these posts. Then you'll take your brackets, see how they're curved, face it in towards the CPU, and just set them on top of those plastic posts. You'll go ahead and kind of start these. Now you're going to tighten it, but you're going to alternate corners every time. So it's tight there, down here, tight, tight, tight. And they ain't got to be real tight, just snug. once you get the hard drive tray removed, there's actually going to be a hardware box for the case. Okay, so now I'm going to put the motherboard inside here in the case. And we'll see if all my standoffs are in the correct spot. All but 2 were. We'll go to our hardware bag that came with the case and we'll get 2 standoffs. Here they are. We'll just put them in these extra 2 holes here. All right. These things are handy. It's just a little changeover thing. It's got Phillips right here, and on the back side, it's sized for a standoff. So pretty easy. Everything looks good. Now we'll go ahead and start screwing it down. So the motherboard mounting screws will look like this. They'll be round. These ones are going to be for like the PSU or like mounting the graphics card, but you see how they're different? And right now I'm just getting each one started. So now you're going to start in every corner and just start getting them tight. Just snug. Okay. All right. So now we're going to start working on the getting the power supply in. Okay. The first thing I like to do here is I like to start taking my cables that are attached to the case, and I like to start running them through and just kind of hooking each one up and try to get them as neat as I can right now. And then we'll worry about zip tying them all in the back later to get them looking real good. But I like to do that first before I get the power supply in, because sometimes what will happen is you'll get the power supply in right here and you won't be able to feed them through. They have to come through here. These are the front panel connectors. And a lot of people have problems with these, but if I can get it to focus up, see how they say power switch, power LED, plus and negative? So if you look at the board right here, it's actually labeled what it is, and that corresponds with this one. And this one says JFP1, and that just means front panel 1. So just kind of follow this, and then that's how you hook it up. The next one is just the audio. So it'll say HD audio on it. And if you look on the board over here, this one will be your audio. You just plug it in. Just look where the blank one is right here. If I can get to focus, see how that's got a blank. And then come over here and see how that's missing one. That's where it goes. Okay, so in this case, the customer ordered green cable extensions because this is going to be a white and green build for his clan on the game that he's playing. And we like that. We like nerdy colors selections, so we're gonna make it look pretty sweet. It's gonna be like a lime green white build when we're done. So I'm gonna go ahead and start putting these fan cones in, and I'm gonna go ahead and run them through to the front and hook them up to the motherboard, and then we'll slide the power supply in, hook up these cables, and we're almost done. Now let's go ahead and get the power supply out of the box. I always use these this particular brand, these PVA Galaxies. They're really nice, they're really affordable, and they're semi-modular, so if you don't have to use a bunch of cables, which in this case I am going to use quite a few, but in builds where you don't have as many power connections, you don't have to use them, so it'll save you some space in the basement. But in this case, it's really a full-size basement. I'm going to have plenty of room to stash everything, and it's just a nice regular old power supply. It's 80 plus gold. So that just means that they stress tested it a little bit. Should be good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and start wiring this power supply up, and then I'll put it in here, bolt it down to the back, and we'll be rocking and rolling. So these are actually a really slick like looking unit. As you can see in the front, this just means it's semi-modular. So these you can't take off, but you're guaranteed to use these pretty much every time. And then if, like for example on this one, we're gonna need an extra CPU, so we got it. And we're gonna need an extra PCIe for the graphics card too, so pretty nice. Better. So I'm just gonna put these bolts that came with the PSU. Sometimes you have to use the ones that come with the case, but in this case, these are gonna be fine.
Okay. No, my feet are up here. Look.
Alright, power supply is installed. Now I'm gonna start hooking up my cables into my cable extensions, and then I'm also gonna I'll flip the case around and I'll wire up the rest of the motherboard. Okay, so I got all the cables ran. Everything's looking pretty good. The next thing I'm gonna do is lay this thing on its back, and I'm gonna go ahead and install the cooler. Okay, here's the cooler. Here's the LCD screen. Look at this baby. Before we get this thing in here, we'll go ahead and put a little thermal paste on it. I just use regular Corsair brand. That's all I use. I just put a little dab right here in the middle. About the size of a pea. So once you get your the cooler mounted onto the CPU, I like to go ahead and get these cables undone and start stuffing them through the back. Just go ahead and turn this thing up. Get that out of the way. So what I'm going to do is, it looks like I'm going to have to make a run, and I'm going to need to go ahead and hook these cables up to the radiator first. So I'm just going to take this in, stick it through there, right next to the CPU power cables. And I'll go ahead and do the LEDs for it. And I'm going to go ahead and take this next one, and I'm going to put it into the CPU fan, which is right here. Put that in there real good. Okay. Pretty much got everything wired up there. Let's go ahead and just get this up where it goes. We may move it around here in a minute. Now, if we remember earlier in our screws for our case, it had some fat ones. These ones right here, these are going to actually hold the radiator up. If you're a rebel, you can only put 4 in here, but I'll try to put them all in. Before I tighten it up, and I'll kind of pretend like my GPU is in here. And I'll just kind of get start moving these hoses around where I want them. You don't want too much pressure on that GPU if you can help it. But you also want to be able to see this LCD screen. So I think right there's fine. Let me move it over a little bit that way. And that should be pretty good. All right, now we start to cable manage. Okay, we got everything cable managed. Now we're gonna flip this thing on its back. I'll show you the cable management that I did on the back of this. Not anything real fancy, but everything's out of the way and the back of the cover should close. So, and then here's my basement. Just kind of put it in there. But the front looks really good. Everything's where it needs to be, and we're about to slap this GPU in here. All right, so I got the GPU out, and now I'm gonna kind of peel these stickers off. Some cards can be harder than others. This is a really nice looking card. Look at this thing. Ooh. Gonna be freaking slick. Alright, so now I get these fans. I've never seen magnetic fans before. But we knew that we would have it like this when we ordered it, but seen it in person. Okay, so should we go like this? I don't know if it matters, but okay, so I guess you just that's pretty cool. Okay. There it is. Oh, fans. Like I said, this thing's gonna be really nice once we get it in there and get it all hooked up. So that's what I'm gonna do next. Moment of truth. Just clip this little clip back right here on the GPU mounting bracket, or the PCIe, whatever that's called. All right, so we'll tighten this GPU up. This is what we got. Man, this thing looks pretty slick. I'm ready to fire it up. We got everything hooked up and power is on. Got all the cables hooked up. Keyboard, mouse, monitor's on. Fire this baby up. Oh, right here. Okay, so the first thing we're looking at are these lights right here. Let's see what happens. Should be training. All right. Now we're watching over here. Oh, baby. Give me some signal. Oh. New CPU installed. Press Y. Okay. And we got a post right off the bat. Oh, look at that thing. Oh, that's freaking sweet. Oh yeah. God dang, this motherfucker's getting it. All right, finished Cinebench, and we got a score of 13,657, so that'll work. What kind of temperatures we get on this bad boy here. Looks clean though. I like this thing. And temperatures. I think I'm just gonna keep it. I'll have to call my friend Robert that I built this for and just tell him that it didn't work out. Okay, so now we're going to enable Expo. All right, so we enabled Expo and maybe gained 1 FPS. So sometimes Expo gets you a lot, but sometimes maybe not. And it also can depend on the game you're playing at too. So, well, yeah. All right. Another build going to another happy.